So I've been thinking about something related to my story that I think is very relatable for people who have found themselves needing to sort of come out of the fog of narcissistic abuse or emotional abuse to break free from something that you've lived in for a long time. And that's when I was writing my story in the early days, and I didn't really know what I was writing or why, but I had some people read it. They were like, Ingrid, this is a whole lot about your stepdad. You know, it's not really about you, it's kind of about him. Or we kind of know who this character is as a character in a story. We don't need so many examples. And it was like very jarring to my nervous system when I heard this, because I was like, I've barely given you a slice of what I actually experienced. And what you're telling me is, you know this guy? Like, you don't need that many examples? Because in my life, what actually happened growing up in that is that all of those examples sort of fell on deaf ears. No one really took it seriously. My own mother sort of denied that any of that was, first of all, happening, much less like something that needed to be taken seriously. And so even though it was through my writing experience, I think it shows this pivot for a lot of abuse survivors, where we go from, living in this cognitive dissonance of sort of solving the disparity of someone's behavior or the feedback in our life, or, maybe one day they're good and next day they're bad. And we go, well, no, they must be good. I mean, they were just having a bad day, right? Like, our brain doesn't want to hold both things. And so we solve it. We solve the problem internally by trying to make sense of it somehow. So we minimize, or we make it our own fault, or we hold all the shame, right? And then what often happens is that when we start to see things more clearly, we go from that minimization and that no big deal place, that self-gaslighting place, to really seeing things for what they are. And we're now maybe even externalizing, no, this is true. This is what happened. Like for me, I had all of these examples of see, when I see them hang together, yes, this is narcissism. Yes, this is abuse. Yes, this was trauma. This is why this impacted me so deeply. And it can look to other people like, well, you might be, focusing on it a little too much, or maybe you're you can seem obsessive. You can seem dramatic. And here's the thing. It is dramatic. It is deeply dramatic that we are literally rewiring our brains from these well-worn grooves of neural pathways that go, no big deal, or, no one else responded, that it must not be that big of a deal. Okay, I got to swallow this. This is normal. Even a whole culture, familial or community culture, that says all that drama and chaos and, toxic behavior, not a big deal. That was the blueprint, okay? That was the neural pathway. And what we're literally doing as cycle breakers, as people that are healing trauma, is we're rewiring our brain to go, no, I'm not gonna live that way anymore. I need to hold on to this other piece of the puzzle that has been dismissed for so long. And in order to do that, you do need to stack the deck on this side. You do need to have a news feed that is full of this information. You need to find the language. You need to find community. We need to immerse ourselves in this side of the equation. And what's sad to me is that both sides of this deal are a raw one, right? I think about my son going, that's not fair. And I go, this isn't fair. That this is really the process, that we either have to swallow it, live with it, suck it up, make sense of it somehow, live with the shame, or when we finally come to the other side and start saying it is what it is and placing blame where it belongs, we're kind of made to be the bad guy either way. Well, maybe you're overreacting, and I guess I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this is a part of this path, that we end up, either holding the shame or being shamed by others, whether it's the people that don't want us to tell the story, or people that can look at it objectively and go, well, why can't you just sort of live in the middle and have a different relationship to it? I can't, because again, I'm literally rewiring my brain. This is not a fully metabolized thing. At some point, it might be more so, right? I don't want my whole life to be a testimony to surviving emotional abuse. I don't know anybody who would choose that, but it's a necessary part of the process. And so I kind of want to normalize it a bit for me and for anyone else who has experienced that split of how hard it is to live with true cognitive dissonance, what it's done to us, and what it actually looks like to get to the other side.